I see that the time is already advanced and that we have two presentations. Clemente has to come after me, so I will try to squeeze our part of the demonstration in very few main messages. So the first one is, I think, something which was very clear in the last days of the General Assembly and also in today's workshop, that when we talk about InfraStress methodology, that we have to be all reminded that it is not a methodology. Is there something, somebody commenting or?
No, I think someone has his mic open, so I don't know who, but so
Okay,
please,
okay. Because I was hearing something and I was afraid that it was you know, a sort of a question or whatever. So it doesn't matter.
It
So
sounds
what
but I can't find out who.
Okay, no worries. So we were, I think, very often faced with the question, what is InfraStress methodology? And I would just like to remind everybody that this methodology is something which is, of course, as we claimed from the beginning, an indicator, resilience stress testing oriented methodology. But that in the same go, we have to say that it is not a methodology which you are going to find in a textbook described step by step, such that it's a composite methodology which at the same time takes into account various documents, reports, own software, add-on solutions, and last but not least, standards. So it's the methodology and the approach are integrated situational awareness and resilience, as you have nicely seen all together so far. And I think for everyone who was even following just the last 3 days of the presentations and talks, it was clear that it was a dynamic system which is hopefully self-organizing well and always, so to say, changing, being a dynamic one and the sense. On the side of, call it a pitch and selling point of the whole things, we will have to remind everyone that we are talking about both qualitative and quantitative assessment of resilience on various levels, that we are able to do before, after analysis, what if analysis, and thanks to these come to an optimized decision, which is not anymore based on gut feelings or the boss says this or that, but it provides a lot of data coming from various sources and being put together by means of the methodology and the system into one, so to say, big, nice interface, which we call a dashboard. It's therefore very appropriate not to stop talking about work packages and single products, but to talk about project products, which of course were nicely visible in the last demonstrations. In framework, which you have seen so many times, I just remind you that we have here this red part on the right side, situational awareness, linking resilience and external sensors in a nice way. And I think it's a big advantage for the project that we can still, at the end of the project, say that the vision from the beginning of the project has been materialized. How it has been materialized, I just go quickly and in a very basic way through the method. So we essentially do the resilience assessment, which you, by the way, I will do something which one should not be always doing. I will switch to the InfraStress dashboard. Here you have an example for Carmagnani. Here you have and you have the resilience curves here. If you go to this part of the system and then go to resilience assessment, you will end up with a system which is showing what has been done, for instance, in pilot 4, for instance, 12 times 12 interdependency scenarios using the Josef Stefan Institute example, taking into account all elements of the plant like site fence, rail terminal, and so on, and providing different types of assessment for different type of scenarios. Obviously, then in each of them providing the corresponding reports and other things, which I'm not going to go into it. Otherwise, Clementa will be speaking until midnight this today. So all this is based on a resilience indicator-based assessment, which in turns looks on the uppermost level, the cyber threats, natural threats, physical threats as the core elements, because they are not typical for any of the pilots. They are, so to say, to be used across all different plants. We then go to a recommended set of indicators. In the examples treated so far, we have usually relied on the list provided by Pilot 2, but also applied to some other plans. And when you go to plan-specific ones, then indeed you have the plan-specific indicators. So what can you get out of this is a sort of a specific list of indicators, which is changeable, which adapts to the situation, and which includes both core and recommended indicators for a use case or a specific case list, which then looks like the one which you see on the right side. For different phases of the resilience cycle, you see different indicators all here with their indicators, like emergency management and planning, or the incident investigation on the lower part. I will just take the other thing for the option so that you can see my cursor better. So as I said, you enter into the dashboard, and then in the dashboard you go and see these elements more or less interactively. What do you get at the end? Is this dynamic list, which according to the given case, for instance, in the case somebody wants to add or remove some of the indicators, can be further refined. So the indicators, as we said, are structured according to this pyramid. It looks, as you can see it on the left side, and when you are filling it out, and all our 5 pilots managed to fill out this, then they have a list like this one here. So either for yes, no, or a scale describing what kind of an answer is appropriate for this question, because essentially each indicator is on one side a question, on the other side also a criterion for further assessment, and last but not least, decision making. So the reports, once you get them, tell you if you are in some areas excellent, or in some other areas not so excellent, and where is your range of improvement, in the sense which indicators can be improved in the further operation, and also what kind of distribution of the indicator situation you have across the resilience metrics. So that's how the whole system works, and that is how each part of the resilience analysis can be refined further. And this is achieved by a special part which we have added, which is sort of a business intelligence related one, which provides you with all types of indicator telling you what's the situation on each of the issues, which would be this part here. And on the other side, on the level of recovery, adaptation, preparedness, robustness. In the presentation this morning done by Giovanni Sansevini, you have seen that, for instance, robustness was a very important part in our considerations. And then for an example of a pilot, you can then say how the resilience was changing along different assessments. And on the other side, you can also look at the reasons for instance, decrease in resilience level and so on. The business intelligence part allows you to very interactively play with the numbers and say what kind of a situation you have if you want to filter any of these. And if I'm not going now to go to this one, if you go to the tool, it's Microsoft Power BI based tool. You can really have a nice picture for a high-level management or similar for this. So to conclude now the presentation of the tool, which then provides the possibility to look at the different alternatives. For instance, how much this was mentioned this morning, also in Lorenzo's presentation, you can say what kind of improvement for a given scenario you can propose as the best one. And the alternatives can be, for instance, various combinations of financial investment, training, reorganization, buying of new hardware, new equipment, and similar. So you end up with a data-driven action plan, which then allows to say, okay, we are going to increase, for instance, the investment in resilience for the next 3 months. What are we going to get? First question. Second question, where to put this additional money, or whatever other practical question can be raised. The same can be done if you want to reduce, so that you know what are you losing if you are entering less. So this all is supported by a multi-criteria decision-making tools, which we call resilience investment optimization. And this, thanks to the, so to say, new features, allows to a person to say, I want to go for a maybe longer or shorter implementation time, or want to increase or decrease my implementation cost, and want to have a certain level, so call it resilience appetite, in improved resilience, and see which of the alternatives is, so to say, the most appropriate one. So you are seeing screenshots instead of real tool, not because the real tool will not be available. It is available, but because I see the time and want to stay in the time frame left. So to conclude, we have, I think, managed to meet some of the hints which were given also in the new draft directive, in the CER directive, which was presented by Max this morning. And so in that sense, we are changing the focus towards situational awareness as a part of improved preparedness, and also allowing to people to see what kind of scenario in the future they can take, for instance, when a resilience cycle comes to its end, and you see what kind of improvement based on lessons learned one has to make, and how this improvement should look like altogether. So finally, the integrative character of InfraStress project came, I think, to the point that we can show that we are probably slightly different from many of the similar projects. There are probably more than 500 which are closely related to our InfraStress. Most of them, or at least many of them, talking and delivering frameworks, platforms, some sort of advanced tools, and some sort of a dissemination. But we, on our side, think that this single tools and their integration, stress on integration, have produced a result which is for sure worth maintaining after the project. We are now approaching the end of the project, and one of the possibilities, as discussed during the General Assembly, would be to look at what kind of possibilities we will have on the side of the, call it European Commission repositories, for instance, like the ANSI project platform or similar. The last element, which seems very complicated, but it is not, is that the project will leave, seems to be the case, the full-scale standardization document. It's going to be the DIN Spec 91461, which foresees the organization and performance of stress testing. Giovanni's test bed obviously has a very prominent place in that one. It's described in an annex of this document, and the document will be probably published or at least approved in September before the end of the project. And the document, as I say, goes through the different steps of the stress testing of resilience, providing the possibility to red, blue, and white teams. The red team being the testing one, the white team being the more or less call it observatory and controlling one, the blue team being the one of the entity owner, providing them to say at the end what kind, and communicate to the others what kind of a good achievement they have done. This all is, I think, a very good basis for all future works. We have been already talking about these possibilities going towards X threats and similar, and we hope that they can be well accommodated with future activities also on Horizon Europe and similar. And last but not least, I would definitely like that you answer the survey which was launched during the day today, and which is still going to be placed as a remainder on the InfraStress platform. That would be all what I wanted to say in this time.